They thought it was over. They thought Jey Uso had finally found his place, his people, his family. Again. But what if everything we've been watching these last few weeks has been building to the single most explosive betrayal in WWE history? And I don't mean Roman turning on Jey. I mean Jey Uso, main event Jey, Yeet Nation Jey, looking Roman Reigns dead in his eyes and saying, "I'm coming for your title." If you are not subscribed to Backstage Wrestling News, hit that subscribe button right now and smash that bell, because what I'm about to break down is going to make your jaw hit the floor, and you do not want to miss a single second of this. People, I need you to sit down. I mean it. Sit down. Because I've been covering WWE Backstage News for a long time, and every once in a while something lands in my lap that makes even me have to take a step back and go, wait, are they actually doing this? And the answer? Based on everything circulating backstage, everything the dirt sheets are whispering about, every cryptic social media post, every smirk Jey Uso has flashed at the camera, the answer is yes. They are actually doing this. Jey Uso is on a collision course with Roman Reigns. Not as a tag partner, not as a soldier, not as a bloodline member standing 2 steps behind the tribal chief. As a challenger, as a man, as the next world heavyweight champion. Let that breathe for a second. Now, before I get into the how and the why, I want to stop and ask you all something. And I'm going to leave this in the comments because I want to hear your opinions. How many times has Jey Uso been pinned by Roman Reigns in a singles match during the Bloodline era? Drop your answer below and no cheating. Let's see who's been paying attention. Okay, I know some of you are already typing furiously in the comments. Good, that's exactly what I want. But stay with me, because we are just getting started. Let's go back, way back, to the beginning of this entire saga. Because to understand where Jey Uso is going, you have to understand where Jey Uso has been. And trust me, this story is one of the most psychologically complex stories WWE has ever told. I know people like to throw that word around loosely, but I mean it with every fiber of my being.
When Roman Reigns returned in 2020 after SummerSlam and aligned with Paul Heyman, nobody knew what was coming. Nobody predicted that Roman would go from beloved babyface challenger to the most calculated, cold-blooded villain this industry has seen in a generation. And when he set his sights on Jey Uso, his own cousin, his own blood, to be the first domino to fall, WWE planted a seed that would take years to fully blossom. And here's what made it so maddening to watch. Roman didn't just beat Jey Uso, he broke him. He made Jey acknowledge him not once, not twice, but repeatedly. He dangled family in front of Jey like a carrot on a stick. This is for the family use. Every single time Jey started to show some backbone, Roman would weaponize the family bond and drag him right back into submission. It was psychological warfare dressed up in wrestling boots, and WWE fans were screaming at their screens week after week. And most of us thought, okay, Jey's moment of redemption is coming. He's gonna snap. He's gonna stand up to Roman in a way that sticks. But instead, something more complicated happened. Jey stayed. Jey adapted. And somewhere along the way, Jey started to thrive inside the bloodline structure, even as the cracks began to show. Fast forward to the Solo Sikoa era, when Solo turned on Roman and essentially hijacked the bloodline with Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, the entire dynamic shifted. And Jimmy Uso went down, and Roman was on the outside looking in at a faction that used to bow to him. And where was Jey in all of this? Where was main event Jey? He was on Raw, building momentum, winning matches, connecting with the crowd in a way that is genuinely rare in this business. When Jey Uso says yeet, 40,000 people say it back to him. That's not a catchphrase anymore, that's a movement. And you cannot fake that kind of connection with a live audience. You either have it or you don't. And Jey Uso, he has it in abundance. But here's where the story gets complicated and delicious all at once. Because Roman Reigns eventually came back. The OG bloodline started to reform. And Jey, despite everything Roman put him through, found himself being pulled back into that orbit. And fans were split right down the middle. Half of them screaming, "Don't do it, Jey, you're better than this." And the other half saying the bloodline is better with Jey in it. And WWE, they let that tension simmer. They let it bubble. They let us stew in the uncertainty week after week. Are Jey and Roman really good? Is the family actually healed? Or is there still a volcano underneath that surface just waiting to erupt? Well, ladies and gentlemen, according to everything coming out of backstage sources, that volcano is about to go off. And the target of the explosion is the World Heavyweight Championship and the man holding it. Here's what the backstage rumblings are saying, and I want to be clear. This is the kind of information that comes from people with their ears to the ground inside WWE's production meetings. Nothing is ever confirmed until WWE makes it official, but the pattern of storytelling we're seeing lines up almost perfectly with what's being discussed internally. The plan, and again, WWE creative changes directions sometimes, so stay with me. The plan is for Jey Uso's ongoing involvement with the reformed bloodline to eventually hit a breaking point. Not because Roman does something overtly villainous necessarily, but because Jey starts to realize something fundamental. As long as he's standing beside Roman Reigns, he will always be in Roman's shadow. And that realization, that quiet, gnawing, infuriating realization, is what's going to set this entire thing off. Think about the storytelling logic here. Jey has done everything right as a babyface. He's been over, he's been passionate, he's been electric. But he has never truly stepped out of the bloodline's gravitational pull long enough to claim something entirely his own. The tag titles? Those were with Jimmy. His Raw moments? Incredible. But they existed in a world still dominated by the bloodline narrative in the background.
A World Heavyweight Championship match against Roman Reigns? That's not just a title match. That is Jey Uso finally, definitively, irreversibly stepping out of the shadow and declaring to the entire world, I am not an Uso. I am not a bloodline soldier. I am the main event. And honestly, after everything WWE has put Jey through, after everything the fans have invested in this character emotionally, doesn't he deserve that moment? Or is it going to be ripped away from him again? Because knowing WWE, it's never that clean. Now, here's where I want to slow down and talk about the actual mechanics of how this could go down. Because the breakaway moment, the moment Jey officially turns his back on the bloodline, or gets his back turned on, that's the scene that will define his entire singles career trajectory. Option 1, Roman, in a moment of supreme arrogance, costs Jey a major match. Maybe a #1 contenders bout. Maybe something even bigger. And Jey finally snaps. He looks Roman in the eye, shakes his head, and walks away. No yeet, no fist bump, just silence. And that silence is louder than any catchphrase he's ever delivered. Option 2, and this is the one that really excites me, Jey wins the right to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship through his own merit, through wins, through momentum. And Roman, rather than celebrating his cousin's success, sees it as a threat. And that possessiveness, that need to always be the one, that's what causes Roman to make the move that destroys the alliance. And now Jey isn't just a challenger for a title, he's a man out for everything. Either way, the destination is the same. Jey Uso standing across the ring from Roman Reigns with the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. And the crowd will be absolutely unhinged, because nobody in that building will know who to cheer for. And that is the magic of truly great professional wrestling storytelling. At which WWE Premium Live event did Jey Uso first challenge Roman Reigns in a Hell in a Cell match? Drop your answer in the comments. First one to get it right gets a shout out in the next video. I see you wrestling nerds already reaching for Google. Don't do it. Trust your brain. Now, let's talk about the match itself, the championship match, because I want to paint this picture for you. Imagine the entrances. Roman Reigns walking out with that slow, deliberate, godlike confidence. The title around his waist, Paul Heyman orbiting him like a planet around the sun. The crowd response, a massive mixed reaction, because Roman is Roman and he will always command that respect even as a villain. And then the yeet music hits. And 40,000 people lose their minds. Because this isn't Jey Uso coming out as part of a pack. This is Jey Uso, alone, solo, no faction behind him, walking down that ramp as a man who finally owns his own destiny. And the emotion in that building will be something you cannot manufacture. It will be real. It will be earned. Every single moment of suffering, every acknowledgement, every tear, every betrayal from the Bloodline years, all of it will be condensed into that single entrance. And when the bell rings, Roman is going to try to get in Jey's head immediately. He's going to use every psychological trick in the book. The tribal chief doesn't just beat you physically, he beats you mentally first. He's going to whisper something in Jey's ear. He's going to slow things down. He's going to remind Jey of every single time he's dominated him, because that's what Roman does. He plants doubt like a seed, and then he waters it with suffering. But here's the thing, and this is what makes this story potentially all-time great material. Jey Uso is not the same man he was in 2020. He is not the cousin who sobbed and acknowledged and broke under the pressure. He has been hardened. He has been to Raw and built himself into a main event performer without Roman's help. He has stood in front of crowds who chose him, not because of the bloodline, but because of Jey Uso. And the moment Roman realizes that the psychological warfare isn't working the way it used to, that is the moment this match becomes something genuinely special.
Now, I also have to bring up Paul Heyman in all of this, because you cannot tell a Roman Reigns story without acknowledging the special counsel. Paul Heyman is one of the greatest minds in the history of professional wrestling, and his involvement in whatever happens between Jey and Roman is going to be critically important. Because here's the fascinating thing about Heyman's loyalty. It is always, always, always to the title, to the power. Heyman attached himself to Lesnar when Lesnar was dominant. He attached himself to Roman when Roman became the guy. If Jey Uso looks like the future, if Jey Uso starts winning and building and the crowd energy shifts, what does Paul Heyman do then? Does he stay loyal to Roman? Or does those legendary instincts kick in and he starts looking at Jey Uso as his next investment? That subplot alone could fuel months of television. And the beautiful thing is, WWE has all the ingredients right there. They don't need to introduce anybody new. The story is already in the room. All they have to do is light the match. I also want to address something that some of you are inevitably going to bring up in the comments, and I welcome the debate, I genuinely do. Some people are going to say, Jey Uso can't carry a world title program. He's a tag team guy. Roman would destroy him. And to that, I say, are you watching the same television I'm watching? Have you seen what Jey Uso does when he's given the mic and told to speak from the heart? Have you seen the way crowds respond to his promos? The man cried on national television during the Bloodline saga, and it didn't make him look weak. It made him look human. In a world full of polished corporate wrestling robots, emotional authenticity is the most valuable currency there is. And Jey has it naturally. And in the ring? Don't even get me started. Jey Uso in a big match environment is absolutely elite. The timing, the selling, the comebacks, everything is there. A singles program at the World Heavyweight Championship level would not expose Jey Uso. It would elevate him into a conversation he should have been part of years ago.
And let me leave you with this final thought, because I want you to really sit with it before you go to the comments. We have watched Jey Uso be suppressed, manipulated, broken, rebuilt, questioned, doubted, and pushed to the absolute edge by his own family, by the machine, by the politics of the bloodline. And through all of that, he never stopped showing up. He never stopped connecting. He never stopped being real with this audience. The World Heavyweight Championship is not just a title. For Jey Uso, it would represent something far more profound.
It would represent the moment a man who was told his entire career, whether by creative, by perception, or by Roman Reigns himself, that he was the supporting act, finally proved to the entire world that he was the main event all along. And if WWE pulls this trigger correctly, if they build it right, if they let the emotion breathe, if they give Jey and Roman the time and the stage they deserve, this could be the most emotionally resonant championship story WWE has told in years. So I'm asking you right now, drop a yeet in those comments if you want to see Jey Uso become the world heavyweight champion. And if you think Roman shuts it down and puts Jey back in his place, drop a 1 versus all. Let's see where the Backstage Wrestling News audience stands on this. Because one thing is absolutely certain. This story is far from over. And we will be here every single step of the way, breaking it all down for you. This has been Backstage Wrestling News. Stay locked in, stay subscribed, and as always, we'll see you backstage.